often when I'm speaking to people about physical fitness, I relate the evolution of fitness to working on cars. Now, stay with me on this. Fitness actually was basically launched into existence in 1960 when Dr. Kenneth Cooper wrote his very famous book called Aerobics. And this is when we started doing a deep dive and studying exercise physiology and understanding the benefits of it and benefits of exercise itself. But like working on your car, the advances that we've had in the automotive industry is likened to the advances we've had in exercise. It's gotten very technical, gotten very in-depth. And so we're going to attack a topic today that is now ubiquitous in the world of physical fitness, and that's dynamic stretching. Like many concepts in the realm of exercise science, it wasn't always this way. We're going to take a deep dive into the history, scientific studies, and benefits of dynamic stretching, especially the practice of and why it is so important to work with an exercise physiologist when attacking the subject of dynamic stretching today on the Personalized Fitness Podcast. Good day and welcome to the Personalized Fitness Podcast. I'm Garrett Williamson, your host, president of the Personalized Fitness. Thank you so much for joining us today on yet another topic that we're dispelling the myths of health, fitness, and wellness. If you're interested in this topic or any others, or have any questions, just like the where this topic came from, please contact us, area code 251-278-3343. That's 251-278-EDGE. If you want to reach out to me via email, it's Garrett, Garrett, at personalizedfitness.com. That is also our website and, of course, our Facebook page. If you're so inclined, hit me up on Twitter. I'm at Team PE. Dynamic stretching. Now, if you're involved in fitness, have been for quite some time, you had to be living under a rock if you haven't heard about dynamic stretching. And stretching and flexibility are cornerstones of fitness. But there's a lot that's still not understood about stretching in general. There's a lot of information that we know about as exercise physiologists that really hasn't been disseminated to the general public. It's interesting. I'll go to a conference and hear about a particular topic in health and fitness, and it'll be the latest, greatest studies. It's backed up by several. The information is backed up by several studies. It is now becoming the practice that we use in working with our clients. But usually, it doesn't make it out to the general public unless it comes from an exercise physiologist till a year or two later, if not longer. That's when I'll start seeing it in Wall Street Journal, New York Times, and they'll start actually going into these different practices. And stretching is one that's very near and dear to my heart. Having a background not only in exercise physiology, but also I was a pole vaulter, but I was a gymnast. And I started out, pretty much all my athletics began in gymnastics. And so flexibility was a large part of what I was involved in, what I taught. And it's something that we do a lot of here at Personalized Fitness. As many of you know, we manually stretch all of our clients at the end of every single session. We have mat tables. That is part of our practice. I'll keep calling it a cornerstone of fitness. But there's a different type of stretching out there that is it's extremely effective, but most people don't quite understand it, and that is what is known as dynamic stretching. This is a new practice, and relatively new, but I want you to know about it because it's something we're doing here on a regular basis, and there's actually classes that we offer about it. But I want you to understand what dynamic stretching is. The concept of dynamic stretching has evolved over the years. For a long time, static stretching, that's basically going into a position and holding it for a while, where you hold a stretch for a period of time. This was the primary method used by athletes for warming up. Now, some athletes use a little bit of ballistic stretching. That's something we really don't do. Dynamic stretching has taken the place of ballistic stretching. But the static stretching was basically it's been a standard practice. You would stretch before you work out. However, researchers and fitness professionals began noticing that static stretching, especially when done excessively before exercise, could hinder athletic performance. Now, the foremost study on this was done in 2014 by Dr. Mike Bracco of the Canadian Institute of Hockey, and I actually had lunch with Dr. Bracco following his presentation of his research at the ACSM American College of Sport Medicine Summit back in 2014. And I was fascinated by it. Of course, it's a topic that I'm very excited about. It's a topic that I like very much, and liked it so much. And he when he's given his presentation, he has to talk about of course exactly what his studies found, what the research established in the study that he did. It was a rather comprehensive study, and at the end of it all, he was talking about. Actually, the study was about whether or not static stretching or helped, aided performance or helped performance or hindered performance or had no effect on performance if you were to stretch before you exercised. Because this has been a common practice for years. And at the end of the study, he had to conclude, because only on that initial study, that it was within the margin of error of whether or not it actually did hinder performance or it actually helped performance. And the fact that whether or not it actually helped performance, and mainly whether it hindered performance, like he said, was within the margin of error. So he really couldn't say conclusively that you shouldn't stretch before an extra workout, or if you should stretch before a workout. But in listening to his presentation, you could hear how he was kind of leaning. And so after the talk, when several questions were asked of him, and you could hear the entire time he was kind of leaning against static stretching prior to exercise. So I figured that wasn't enough, and I actually went up and met him afterwards, and ended up finding out that he didn't have any plans for lunch. So I took him to lunch, and got this captured audience with, at the time, the foremost authority in exercise. And we discussed it, and I asked him point blank. I said, Dr. Bracco, do you feel, if you were working with athletes, let's say you're in charge of a team, would you recommend static stretching before exercise? He said, no, absolutely not. He said, and I have to say that within the margin of error, that everything was still within the margin of error, but I believe subsequent studies will prove that static stretching prior to exercise actually hinders performance. And it made sense. The way he described it to me was very simple. It's one of those things where you kind of slap in your forehead, because he said, Garrett, when you're stretching, you lean into a stretch and stay into it very long, you're going to feel a burn. Of course. I mean, if you've ever done any kind of stretching, you're going to feel kind of a burn. You don't want to sleep in that position. You want to kind of get out of it. Well, he said that burn, think of where you felt that burn before. Well, of course, you felt that burn when you're doing resistance training, when you're lifting weights. You start feeling a burning sensation. Well, that's actually lactic acid. That's lactic acid being released because you are tearing muscle fibers. And that burn is there. It's the body's response to tell you, hey, you need to stop doing this. You're doing damage to the muscle. And I've said many times when we're actually working folks out, we're actually trying to, quote unquote, damage the muscle. We're trying to break that muscle tissue down so that the body builds it back stronger. And he said, okay, so if you're stretching before a workout, so you're tearing muscle fibers, prior to tearing muscle fibers, well, don't you think that is kind of a recipe for injury? And it made perfect sense to me. He was nice enough when he got back to his office, and when I got back to Mobile, he actually mailed me his research, and I found it fascinating. And of course, he was right. They've had subsequent studies that talked about static stretching, and finding out now that we shouldn't do static stretching prior to a workout. So what is this? What should we have in place? We need to warm up. We need to do some sort of warm up. Well, this led to the introduction and subsequent popularity of dynamic stretching, really late 20th century, sometime after his studies came out. And dynamic stretching involves moving parts of your body through a full range of motion, gradually increasing reach, speed, or movement, or both. I mean, speed and movement in a controlled manner. It's often used to mimic the movements associated with a particular sport or exercise. This makes it a valuable part of an athlete's warm-up routine. We actually have a warm-up routine that we post on our bulletin board for our athletes to do prior to their workout session. The effectiveness and benefits of dynamic stretching have been proven in various studies over the years. A study published in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning and Research in 2008 found that dynamic stretching led to increases in leg extension power compared to static stretching, which actually showed decreases in power. This led to authors to recommend dynamic stretching for warm-ups before physical activity, just like Dr. Bracco had. There was another study published in the Journal of Science, Sports Science and Science, Journal of Sports and Science Medicine. There's several different journals like that to get them a little confused. This actually came out in 2012, and it found that dynamic stretching improved overall agility performance as compared to static stretching or no stretching at all. That's why I like this study. It actually compared it to just no stretching at all. Did you have a benefit? And of course, dynamic stretching showed a benefit over static stretching and no stretching at all. The study concluded that, again, dynamic stretching may be favorable for athletes who participate in sports requiring agility, and very few sports don't require some sort of agility. And remember what I said about agility. Agility, dexterity, balance, they're all located in the same parts of the brain. In addition, a comprehensive literature review in Scandinavian Journal of Medicine and Science in Sports in 2012 supported these conclusions. They stated that dynamic stretching can improve power and agility and performance and should be integrated in the warm-up routines of athletes. And these are just a few of the studies that are out there. Now, dynamic stretching offers an array of health benefits. It helps increase body temperature, promoting better circulation to the muscles and joints, which in turn helps, of course, improve performance and reduce injury. This is what a true warm-up is. A warm-up is to get circulation going and get those joints ready to move through a full range of motion. And dynamic stretching is the safest way. By moving through a full range of motion, it enhances muscular performance and power, aiding in a better sport-specific performance. It also helps improve what we call body awareness, agility, speed, movement efficiency. All these are big parts of dynamic stretching. And, of course, these are not only beneficial for athletes, but beneficial to anybody engaging in regular physical activity. It's stretching. So dynamic stretching, of course, improves overall flexibility, similar to static stretching, but in a much more functional and sport-specific manner. Now, since this practice is new, I can't recommend enough working with somebody that has the background, that actually understands the physiology and the anatomy associated with such a practice. Incorporating dynamic stretching into a fitness routine isn't just about doing the movements. Too many times people are watching YouTube, picking up a movement and just taking themselves through it. It's doing them right. It's just like doing an Olympic lift. Olympic lifts are wonderful when done right. This is where the expertise of exercise physiologists comes in. As exercise physiologists, we're health professionals who have in-depth knowledge of a body's physiological response to exercise and the adaptations that occur with consistent training. We understand the body's limits, the capabilities, and can customize an exercise program, including dynamic stretching, to suit whatever your specific needs or goals are. Working with an exercise physiologist ensures that dynamic stretches that you perform are safe. They're suitable for your fitness level and beneficial to your specific activity or sport. There are certain dynamic stretching moves that we use for certain sports. And this is not only going to improve your performance, but of course it's going to help prevent injury. This has emerged as a crucial aspect of modern fitness routines, backed by a ton of data. So it's something that you're going to see on a regular basis. If you're not seeing it already, it is if you watch any professional sports team prior to a game, prior to even a practice, you're going to see dynamic stretching being used, and it's something that I can't stress enough. We are such big fans of it. that we actually, there's, we do personal training, as you well know. We're a one-on-one and two-on-one personal training facility covering all aspects of health, fitness, and wellness. But dynamic stretching is one class that we offer, and we actually do it Facebook Live. Do it Facebook Live 10:30 on Tuesday and Thursdays. You can go on our Personalized Fitness Facebook page, and you can catch our dynamic stretching class. We want to make sure, and this is one that's very broad. It can be done for athletes. It can be done for regular exercisers. When you're actually watching the class online, you'll see we have all ages that are involved in our dynamic stretching classes. It's very easy to move through these take through these different movements. And of course, we have one of our degreed professionals teaching this class and giving you the right cues, telling you exactly what you're working on and what you're going through. I like to say that dynamic stretching is what yoga thinks it is. Now, I'm not knocking yoga. I think yoga is fantastic, but do keep in mind, yoga was born from spirituality. It wasn't born from exercise physiology. And again, fantastic practice. We've got staff members that love doing yoga and take part in yoga on a regular basis. Of course, they have the physiology. They understand what they're putting their body through, and they will not put their body into some strange position that isn't good for the joints and what have you. But if you want that type of increased movement, increased flexibility, and overall better health through that type of exercise, I highly, highly recommend dynamic stretching. And it's like anything else that we do. It can be graduated. I mean, it can be done for the least exercised individual, all the way up to our high performance athletes. You can change the level of it, and you can slowly step it up and increase the difficulty, increase the functionality of it, if you're working with the right professional. If you have any questions about this, please reach out to me at area code 251-278-3343. That's 251-278-EDGE. You can also contact me via email at Garrett, Garrett, at personalizedfitness.com. Also, that's our Facebook page, Personalized Fitness. Was our website, personalizedfitness.com, and our Facebook page, Personalized Fitness, where again, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10:30. And if you miss it, they stay on there for a while. You can contact Erica, and she'll tell you exactly how long it is. But they stay on our Facebook page for a while. So if you're not able to watch it at 10:30, hey, catch it another time. Highly recommend it. And if you have any questions, contact us about it, because dynamic stretching is a fantastic practice. I'm impressed with what my staff has done with dynamic stretching. And the different ways they're able to adapt it to every single exercise that comes to personalized fitness. Because that is one way, like all the things we do, with the professionals that we have on staff, that we help you reach your level of wellness. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you next time.